Is Dallas City Hall turning into a swamp that needs draining? Let's dive in. I'm Sarah Subiata Bennett, and on this episode of Let's Talk Local, I'm sitting down with Damien LeVeck, better known as Dallas En Fuego, on Twitter and YouTube. You might know Damien for his work in the horror film world, but lately he's been making waves in Dallas politics. So what's behind this shift? We'll get into all of it later. And stick around after my chat with Dallas En Fuego. I've got a mocktail recipe that'll add some fire to your Valentine's night menu. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Okay, Damien.
Okay. Here we are.
Here we are. And I felt like a little bit of a stalker last night. I was diving as deep as I possibly could with all of the medicine in my body, trying to make me feel better. And I was flat out shocked that you professionally are a director and an editor of horror films and successful horror films.
Yeah.
I mean, can you tell me a little bit about that first before we get into any of the other reasons that I initially wanted to have you on the show? I mean, you're quite the man with, I mean, seriously, I'm interested.
Sure.
Tell me.
I mean, I got into entertainment. I moved to LA from Central Illinois when I was 18 years old, went to USC film school and got involved after USC, got involved in the entertainment industry through post-production. I interned all throughout school at production companies and studios, but really found my footing in post-production. I started by making documentaries. I made a documentary with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
I then started working at TMZ. I worked at TMZ briefly and then went to E! News and cut entertainment news for 3.5 years. And then went freelance after that, editing development sizzles for production companies that, to get TV shows sold. And along the way, edited a couple feature films, a couple of other feature scripted films, writing, trying to get to a place where I had a script that I felt like I could put 3.5 years behind to get made. And that's what I did with my first feature film, The Cleansing Hour, which started as a short film. And after that, we made A Creature Was Stirring, starring Chrissy Metz, which came out last year, or November 2023.
Now you have an Amish film.
And now we have an Amish horror film.
When does that launch?
Well, hopefully this year. We're working on the financing of that right now. And we've made several offers, but things are always changing. It's always fluctuating, but the hope is that we'll make it this year.
That's incredible. And so you started this Scubalon Entertainment, right?
Yep, that's right.
And I guess with that, I never even knew that horror films were usually the most profitable films.
They are the most profitable films, and they have been for decades.
It's crazy.
And I'm drawn to horror not just because of my interest in the supernatural and I really enjoy scaring people. I love the entertainment aspect of it, but also the financial aspect of it is great, obviously. But horror is the only genre where original stories are being told.
Yeah.
Everything else is a remake or a reboot or based on IP.
It's really
and
independent.
horror is where people can come in and with a low budget make a unique, really cool story that scares people and makes a lot of money at the same time. So I'm down. That's my preference.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
This is incredible. So how on earth, Damien LeVeck, with someone with your background, your skill set, how in the world do you get involved in the civic, local political space? What kind of prompted that fire within you?
Well, I had no intention of getting involved.
Yeah,
honestly.
I didn't either.
I really didn't. I'm very busy with my work, screenwriting and producing movies and developing movies and editing shows. I really had no intention, and I think it was March 8th last year, my in-laws, who have lived in Dallas for 40 years, said, hey, I want you to go to this meeting hosted by Janie Schultz, who is our council member. It's about this development at Pepper Square. They want to renovate Pepper Square. They want to build these big apartment buildings there, and we want you to see what's going on. So I didn't know who Janie Schultz was, and I showed up, and I was just appalled by the way that she spoke to people. She was up there like a school marm talking to her class, telling them to settle down, and I was very frustrated because this whole meeting, I was told ahead of time, this is going to be a dog and pony show where she marches the police and the fire up there, and she marches the North Texas Council of Governments up there, and she's going to tell them, she's going to explain to us why everything is good for Pepper Square, why we should be building this, and why everyone should go along with it. So I stood up and I said, hey, listen, we have questions. Everyone here has questions, and you're deliberately not asking them. In fact, she made a point of saying that she wasn't going to take open questions. You could write your questions on a card, and if she liked it, she would read it. So I was really appalled by this. After the crowd got pretty riled up after I did that. She tried to have a very successful and well-respected dentist in town escorted out by the police. It was crazy. So then I really started paying attention to the Pepper Square issue, and I started paying attention to what she was doing and what her record was like. And I started making videos about her specifically in relation to this issue of developing Pepper Square. I came at it with kind of a snarky, jokey tone where, I punched down a little bit. That's my personality. I don't want to be a stiff, I like to have fun. So that came across in my videos, and, I intercut with like memes and pop culture references and that sort of thing. And I also, while I was doing this, initiated a recall effort against her. And this is something that doesn't happen very often in Dallas. No. And, recall efforts can succeed or fail, for better or for worse. The thing that did her in was a video that I did where I caught her on hidden camera talking about how she has a different worldview about density and apartments than her constituents.
Do you have a different worldview about density?
And what the people of North Dallas said to her in this meeting, private meeting, was that, look, we're coming to you for help because you're our councilwoman, and it seems like you want to support the developer and not the people who live there. And she said, well, I just have a different worldview about density. I have a different worldview about apartments. And I made a video about that, and everybody saw it. And then coincidentally, a few weeks later, she said, I'm not going to run again. So I considered that a huge win for me because finally everyone was waking up to what this person is doing. And that's when I started to really red pill on Dallas politics. And I really started to look at, this isn't just Janie Schultz. This is the entire city council. This is the city manager. This is everything in Dallas. And all the problems that we're facing in Dallas are systemic. It's a problem with the entire edifice of our municipal government.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is just mind-blowing to me because most people are absolutely unaware and unengaged.
Yes.
They're disengaged.
Yes.
And it breaks my heart because as long as I can remember, I have genuinely cared about the efforts within the city.
This is what this has kind of evolved into.
Yeah.
Because I am so frustrated. I've never been one to back down from a fight, and I've also never been one to let other people be walked on.
Same.
And let other people be taken advantage of.
Same here.
And what I see when I look at Dallas politics is I see a great city where they're actually being taken advantage of because the city council is taking advantage of their ignorance. They're taking advantage of the fact that they aren't paying attention.
That's right.
So admittedly, mostly these elections, the voter turnout is very, very
abysmal.
Low. Right? And that's because most of the people who vote are older people, they're older generation, they're probably retired, and they have more time to devote to paying attention. And I'm a dad. I've got 3 little kids.
Oh, you are?
I got 3 kids, 8, 6, and 4.
Oh my gosh.
So, I'm very busy with my family, and I totally understand between wife and kids and school and sports and all the extracurricular activities that it's hard to pay attention to this stuff. It's hard to open up a newspaper and read what's going on. I get that. So what my approach has been as I've developed this X account, Dallas En Fuego, has been not just to make jokes or make funny videos that are entertaining to watch, but actually make them infotainment, make them edutainment, right? Create stuff that's going to be that the soccer mom can share with her friends, and 60, 90-second video that educates them about an issue that does relate to them, that is pertinent to their life. Because our city council every week is making decisions that directly affect your life. And if only we could all pay attention, we could actually get their attention by saying, hey, look, we care about this. Hey, we're actually going to take time out of our busy schedule to go to City Hall, and we're going to make our voices heard. And I think there's a lot of ways that you can make your voices heard, but my objective is to create long-term a way for people to educate themselves on city issues using video content that isn't that's easily digestible. And I think that is also catering to a younger demographic as well.
Absolutely.
Because I'm 43,
Yep.
right? I want people who are 30 to 50 that's my target audience.
Same.
Those are the people who I
Yes.
want to be paying attention to this stuff.
Yes.
And it's working. I have lunch, a weekly breakfast with a friend, and this was before the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a voter guide on all the props. On
Did
all the
you?
ballot props. It was a Dallas voter guide. And I had it
Oh,
pinned
I
to
saw
my
it.
ex.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw it.
And I showed it. I texted it to him, or I showed it to him at lunch, and I texted to him, and he said the next week, he said, "Hey, I showed your voter guide to a friend at work. He works in finance. He said I showed it to a friend at work, and he goes, "Oh, I've already seen that. My dad showed that to me." And that made me feel so good. I was like, "Wow, this is getting around."
People
know,
are following.
So it's encouraging. I feel very encouraged and very empowered because I know the power of media because it's the business that I work in.
Correct.
I know how to edit and make compelling, really good-looking videos that look like there's a lot of money behind them because that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And I know that we can actually get a new base of voters fired up so that they will start paying attention to these issues, and when they go to the ballot, start voting in a way that's going to help their city instead of hurt them.
Well, I love it. Your videos are really incredible, but what are you hoping to do? So I understand your mission.
Yeah.
I understand your target audience. I know the type of impact you've had even at this point. What do you hope to do next with Dallas En Fuego, with this voice that you've built?
Look, I never
in less than a year.
intended to get into any of this, right? And if I could devote myself full time to this, there's a lot of things I would do. Just for example, for all the ballot propositions,
Yes.
I would have made a 30 to 60 second video on each of them explaining why you should or should not vote for them. Now, of course, that's
your background.
my opinion, but I would spend time making that kind of content.
Yep.
But the truth is that I'm a filmmaker. I'm a creative at heart, and I want to keep making movies, and I want to develop TV shows, and that's really where my heart lies. But if there were a way to grow this into a larger business or into a larger organization that focuses just on that, I would absolutely be a part of it. And I'm still going to keep making videos as much as I can on issues that are important to me. I'm focusing on specific council members now because it's an election year. And I want people to see who represents them. I mean, I've got a video coming out soon about Adam Basil-Dua.
Here are 3 reasons why we cannot re-elect District 7's Adam Basil-Dua. The Fry Cook. Wrong priorities. The Fry Cook's signature issues include a ceasefire in Gaza,
who's been a disaster for District 7. And look, we can't let these people keep working this job. They work for us. And if they're not delivering on promises, and if you're seeing their district go down the toilet, then you got to hold them accountable. District 7 had the most murders of any district in 2024. 35 murders in District 7.
That's right.
That's insane. That's an F grade, in my opinion.
Well, most of these council members are receiving F grades, maybe
Correct.
with the exception of Kara. And,
Right.
there's a few.
There are a couple of common sense voices on the city council.
For sure.
But and that's really what the city council needs is common sense. Partisanship doesn't belong at city council.
No.
I don't care what party you are.
Same.
I don't care what letter's next to your name.
Same.
Just give us more cops.
Don't let our
Stop
city go to
overspending.
hell.
Right.
So you recently your City of Dallas leaders hate you. Citizens passed Prop U, a referendum on public safety, begging city leaders to hire the 900 police we need. And yet they're still dragging their feet. With attrition, the city will only gain at best 256 cops this year. And then you put exactly what the pay was as of, as of very recent, and you said this gaslighting is egregious. Where are you gathering all of your statistics? Because we have them, right?
Yeah.
And they're publicly available.
Yeah.
How much time does this take you?
It takes a lot of time.
It does, doesn't it?
It takes a lot of time.
It's buried.
I get them. I gather them myself. My wife helps me dig up stuff. The more people you have doing it, the better.
Of course.
And then sometimes I have primary sources that are actually giving them to me, saying hey, you might want to look at this because this is what the numbers actually are. As far as the police thing is concerned, it's a very important issue for me. I lived in LA for 22 years.
Yes.
Police staffing is a big issue
Talk
there.
to us about this.
Well, so a lot of the passion that I have,
Density.
it comes directly from having lived in that city for 22 years. And I say, I don't want Dallas to become this.
Same.
Because LA is facing a housing crisis. It has a homeless crisis. I don't know actually where LA is on cops, but there was a period of time about 4 years ago where they were talking about slashing the LAPD budget.
They did.
So when I look at what the police in Dallas are being paid compared to surrounding cities, it's crazy.
It's infuriating.
If you're a young man and you want to be a police officer, why would you choose to put your life at higher risk in Dallas when you could get paid $10,000, $15,000 more, go working in Plano or Garland or something like that? It doesn't make any sense. So again, common sense. But does the city council want to allocate the funding that's required to raise starting pay and raise the pay for the existing officers? And that's the big question.
They have to now because it's law.
I think they're going to get sued if they don't.
Well, that's right.
Right.
That's right. Now, thanks to Proposition S,
right,
they will get sued.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, they are blunt instruments. I mean, I get that. And when Tom sat here and, I know Eric, the mayor has very much referenced them as blunt instruments, but that's what was needed.
Yeah.
Because nothing else was working.
But that's exactly, so I think the last election was extremely important, and I'm referring to the local election.
Of course.
Because it took a ballot proposition for the people to get through the city's thick skulls that, hey, look, this is the most important thing to us, and you aren't listening to us. And I think this is the big problem with the city of Dallas, is that the people who run the city are completely disconnected from what the people who live in the city want.
That's right.
And I haven't quite figured out. I have some theories. I think it is either because they're ignorant, or they don't care, or they're just drunk on power and they're completely corrupted and their ideology is all that matters. They don't care about representing the people. It might be a combination of the three, I'm not sure. But that is the issue. And
for sure.
And that is the reason why whenever people ask me about well, how can I get involved? What can I do? I said, start paying attention to who represents you, because everything stems from the council. And unfortunately, we don't have at-large council members, which we need. We actually need a strong mayor government, but that's another discussion. But start paying attention to who represents you and what they're doing, and then start looking at how can I, who's running against them, and how can I get involved.
Oh, I hope that with these two, with particularly S in place, that with the ability to sue the city structure as it exists today, that there may be some improvement. But
yes.
But
so I would agree with you. I think that removing sovereign immunity is actually a very good thing for the city. I think that this is one way that Dallas is leading the way for the rest of the country, right?
That's right.
The only city in the country that has it. That's fantastic.
It's huge.
And I had mixed feelings about Prop S, because I was like, I hear the people on the other side being like, lots of frivolous lawsuits. I totally get that. We don't want to waste money on this stuff. But look, even after the passage of Prop U, even after the passage of Prop S, we have C.K. Arnold coming out saying that she's going to run for a 5th term in defiance of Prop E.
That's right.
The cognitive dissonance or the lack of self-awareness is just unbelievable.
Yep.
And without Prop S, we wouldn't be able to hold people like her accountable, and she is going to get sued. I'm almost sure of it.
So talk to me about your stance on term limits.
Well, I've been a fan of term limits in general for all of politics, because if you know anything about our founding fathers, they never intended to run for politics and make it a career.
That's right.
It was supposed to be an act of service that you give back to your country, and then you return to your job and your home. Well, I think the career politicians are a problem in our country, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on; they're a problem.
They are.
On both.
Totally.
So this idea of you need to have an experienced leader. Please. I mean, I think that having a strong business acumen could be good for running a city, but look, you can learn the Robert's Rules of Order, and that's easy enough to pick up. It takes common sense to run a city. It doesn't take somebody who's been in politics for 10 years to do it. So I respect the people that work in government that run our city. I don't think that it should be a requirement for someone to sit on city council, for example. So I'm actually more encouraged by the people who are running for city council who don't have a career in politics than those who have in the past, those who've run on the park board, for example, that somehow because they were on the park board and they know more people in the city and they're more well connected, that they're going to do a better job. No, actually, I think that the person who's been running a business for 30 years and knows how to manage money and understands zoning and development, those are the people who I want running our city.
Yeah, and same. Here.
Yeah.
I'm hopping over to DART now because so many of my questions you just answer in your conversation. So, DART. Shannon over here, she said something interesting not long ago. She was at a party, I think, talking about DART because we like talking about these sexy things when we're at parties. But she said that there was this guy there that said, you know what? We would lose less money as a city if we bought everyone a Toyota Corolla. Everyone right now, as it exists today, who rides the DART, a Toyota Corolla. And I thought, that can't be right. I went back. I did the math. That's correct. That's accurate.
Everyone in the entire population, or just the 2% of people that actually
utilization.
use it?
Yeah, the people that utilize it.
Yeah, it's extremely small.
It's so small.
Yeah.
And so that, for me, is something that must be addressed.
Yeah.
And how to do it, I have several ideas, but I'm not sure that anyone would be willing to entertain it. Where have you, I guess, landed with your opinions as it relates to DART?
I think that it's a budget boondoggle. I think it's incredibly wasteful. The fact that less than 2% of Dallas residents use it is indicative not of the quality of the service, but rather of the usefulness or necessity of it. Like I said, I lived in LA for 22 years. The bus system in LA is fairly robust.
Yep, it is.
They have spent years building rail lines from downtown to Santa Monica and from the South Bay to downtown and to Hollywood, and they've got the most expensive subway in the world just because of the seismic, conditions there. But I think that the buses in LA are actually utilized quite a bit. I think LA is maybe a bit more dense, but Dallas is similar to LA in its sprawl, but I think that's a big part of maybe not as dense. I think that's a big part of the reason why so few people use it. If this city were designed like Manhattan, for example, where the subway was an integral part of the original creation of the city, people would use it because you could take a subway anywhere in the city, get off, and maybe walk a few blocks and you're at your destination. That's how it works in Manhattan. But Dallas is a car city. It was always built as a car city. It was designed as a car city. I don't think there's any point in investing any more money in DART. There's a reason why surrounding cities are trying to pull out the money that they're contributing to DART. Yep. And here's what my solution is. My solution is eliminate it entirely. You don't need it. No one rides it. In fact, it's dangerous to ride it. It is. It's become a place for people who are dealing drugs and who are homeless, and people get injured on them. Like it's a waste of money. We are on the brink of autonomous vehicles being everywhere. In 10 years, cars are going to be completely driving themselves, and people aren't even going to be buying cars because Uber is going to come and pick you up in whatever car you want, take you wherever you want, and that's how you're going to get around.
I agree.
Public transportation is going to completely die after that. And if you want to ride a bike, that's fine. Most of those cars are probably going to be electric. And Dallas is just, we've got freeways that take us everywhere. That should be an indication to you that coming up with, using 18th century technology to get everybody from A to B is just not the answer.
Yep. And it's really interesting because I've heard so many people tell me, Sarah, we attracted companies like AT&T to come, or not AT&T. Who was it? Was it Goldman Sachs? I forget exactly who it was.
Meta came.
B of A, Bank of America, someone large, some prominent company. And they said what we used as a selling point was the fact that their employees could live in all of these wonderful surrounding suburbs, of course, because Dallas has schools, and send their kids to these places with DART. And I'm like, yeah, but do you also disclose to them that it's dangerous to ride DART? Do you also disclose to them that they will have to carry a gun? They will have to, protect
that also
their children.
Limits where they can really live too.
Exactly.
You have to live next to a rail line.
Exactly.
There's a DART station. There's Arapahoe and
Closer to Plano.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't even build a parking lot at the DART station, so
I didn't know that.
can't even park there. So it's like, what's the point?
I know.
Yeah.
It is literally, it's soaked up billions of dollars, the hundreds of millions of dollars that it just keeps pouring into that when that could be otherwise directed towards our police,
Right.
the pension, our whatever. But again, the budgetary concerns. I mean, I feel like I've been beating my head against the wall for over a decade at this point.
Right.
And I like a lot of these people individually, but as far as what they are trying to institute, what they have been instituting, it does not make sense at all.
I don't. Do you have an opinion on the rail line between Dallas and Fort Worth?
I do, but as far as it being a good or a bad idea, again, it just depends on the technology that's used. But right now, as it's presented today, I just don't think it's. I don't think it's worth it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that gives me pause about it, because I love it. I love the idea.
Me
of
too.
It. I love the idea of it. Is again my LA experience.
application.
They tried to do this, and if you get off of a train in downtown LA, then what?
Yep.
Unless you're going to a meeting in downtown LA, you're either getting in an Uber or someone's picking you up or you're renting a car, because the way the city's laid out, you ain't walking. You aren't taking a bike either.
Yep.
So I don't know if it really solves a problem.
Well, that's my whole thing. What's the opportunity cost here? One,
Right.
do we have to look at exactly what we'll be giving up to get it? And is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because there are so many other priorities, like the homelessness, like the police, like
Right.
these issues must be solved in order to make our city great.
Yeah.
And right now, Dallas is en fuego. So city council. You've been known to say that city council doesn't care about their constituents, really, and needs a wake-up call. What is the most blatant example of this disconnect?
The most blatant example of the city council needing a wake-up call was Prop U, frankly, because you had current and former city leaders band together to say, this is a bad idea for the city. And then you've got, I think it was 170,000 signatures that were needed to get it on the ballot.
That's right.
You have all these people who are telling you right now, this is so important to us that we actually need to get it on our ballot to force your hand. And that was the biggest disconnect, because I mean, you had former mayors and former council people and former city managers all getting together and having press conferences and talking about this. It's like, how dense can you guys be? And that was the big thing for me, that it was like I was really having a hard time trying to figure this out. Why would people who led our city be against hiring more police? This just something doesn't add up about this. And I finally, over time, put it together. I said, this is the cabal, and they're not going to be told what to do. They don't want their power relinquished. And there's nothing scarier to a politician than a pissed off population. And, make tar and feathering great again. Like, let's, but you know what, something that's a good segue into what I have sort of this idea of a call to arms on my Dallas En Fuego X channel. And if you've seen the movie Network,
Oh, yeah.
with Peter Finch plays this TV network anchor, and he has a very famous line. He says, first you've got to get mad. You have to, and then later on says, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. But I really think that until you're paying attention to what's happening, get upset about what's happening, you're not going to have the fire in your belly to try and fix what's happening. So what everyone needs to do is educate themselves, which I'm trying to help with, and then figure out what you can do to fix it. And my number one thing that I would tell people to do is you have to flip the city council. All those boards and commissions, the CPC that I told you is so problematic, that is all because of who sits on the city council. So until that city council gets a group of people who can align, they don't have to agree on everything, but align on the issues that are most important to the Dallas residents: public safety, homelessness, potholes and infrastructure, and property taxes, you're not going to see anything change. It's always going to be divisive. So my call to action is start paying attention. Follow me on X.
Yep.
I'll do the best I can.
Yep.
But take 30 seconds out of your day just to scan through the newspaper and see like what's being talked about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just can't thank you enough for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I was thrilled to have you on. And last night I just hit like a whole new high,
Yeah.
even despite my sickness, realizing just how varied your expertise is, your life experience. It's just unique. I mean, I'm sitting here with a horror filmmaker, producer, editor, writer, and also a civic, passionate being.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I want to empower everyone to get involved because I had no intention of doing this, and then I just started making a couple of videos doing something that frankly comes pretty easily to me.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you, and that started to move the needle.
Yep.
It just shows you how little effort you have to put forward to make a difference. If everyone just put a little bit of effort in, that would make a huge difference. It
Yep.
would make a huge impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thanks,
I look
Sarah.
forward to, just to seeing more of you. Let's go ahead and wrap this up, but I appreciate you all being here, listening and reviewing to this wonderful interview with Damien LeVeck, also known as Dallas En Fuego, his handle on Twitter and YouTube. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Damien's passion for making our city better is the kind of passion we all hope to bring to Valentine's Day, right? And if you're like me, maybe skipping the booze but still craving something really delicious, I've got just the thing. I've discovered a homemade sangria mocktail that's not only refreshing, but pairs perfectly with one of my favorite non-alcoholic mixers. Stick around and I'll show you exactly how to make it. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right, so we are gonna be making a non-alcoholic sangria. I know that we're winding down on the dry January space, but in case you're looking for ways to add in different types of alcohol replacements, I figured that I'll just make a non-alcoholic recipe, and then you can consider possibly adding one of these like, non-alcohol alternatives. So non-alcoholic sangria. I love it. It's a Spanish cocktail normally. And instead of using the wine that's traditionally used in the Spanish recipe, the tannins from tea are gonna be what kind of create that acidic flavor. So let's start. We start by layering in these beautiful pieces of fruit. So now we're going to start with this hot tea. We need 2 bags of tea. And we allow it to steep for about 5 minutes. So let me get moving. This is boiling hot water. Steep for 5 minutes. Okay, this is looking beautiful. We put this in a clear container to start before I'm transferring it into my non-clear container, my pitcher. It's an ice bucket, but it's functioning as both. So I'm gonna layer in the rest of the fruit in this larger vase. And now I'm going to add in this since it's been steeping for 5 minutes. Now we have to add the sugar. Now that that's in there, we're going to start the cranberry juice. Now this is a sparkling red grape addition. Orange juice, no pulp. Stir it, of course. And now we place it in the refrigerator and we let it chill for about 24 hours. Okay, now You can do different alternatives whenever you want to sugar your rim or salt it. The one that we decided to use was this Barrel Roll Pink Lemonade Essentials, because I probably would get bored with maybe just some regular sugar. Or if you're wanting to offer a healthier addition, you can do some monk fruit sweetener. But I'm just going to do it by dipping it in some simple syrup. I like this brand. Simple syrup. And however you're pouring it for yourself, we're gonna ladle it since it's coming out of this large vessel. Cinnamon stick as a garnish. Okay, so if you wanted to go an extra step and add something to kind of take the edge off, non-alcoholic, still adhering to that whole model, you can use like a Nowadays. These are really fun, travel easily. I love them. Or you can just leave it as a regular mocktail. Let's see how it tastes. It's delicious. It's delicious. It's really yummy.